called Rita. Not Rita Queen of Speed, but Rita. And today we are heading to the Elaphiti Islands because when I was in primary school, Lopud, which is one of the Elaphiti Islands, was where we used to spend our summer holidays. So we're really looking forward to that. How are you feeling?
Very, very excited. I have many happy memories of being at Lopud, so I'm really looking forward to going back, seeing what's the same, what has changed, and just rekindling memories.
Absolutely. So we're quite excited because for us it's going to be a trip down memory lane. We're really looking forward to seeing how the island's changed, or maybe not have changed. We're going to try and work out where the hotel was that we used to stay in and see if it's still a hotel or if it's still there. And hopefully just have an explore around the island. Islands. Well, the island of Lopud, the other islands afterwards as well, yeah. And just like see if we have a good fun reminiscing day in essence. So anyway, stick with us. We'll tell you all about our journey and we'll tell you all about what we find when we get to Lopud and the other Elaphiti Islands, and hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. Alright, so we've arrived on board and they've given us what do you think it is, Mum?
It smells like slippage.
It smells like slippage. It's a little bit noisy on here, apologies for that. Stevie, you gonna have some of yours?
No, I'm not drinking it.
You're not drinking it? I will have his then.
We're trying it up between us.
Alright, go and tell me, Mum, what you think. Nice?
It's very nice, but yes, I feel it going down.
Yeah, that's how it should be though, right? Okay, so now that we're on the way, you might have noticed that our intro is not quite as in-depth as it normally is, and apologies for the background noise whilst we first spoke to you on the boat just now. So I just want to take a moment to explain how our morning has gone so far. We were all super organised for once. Even Stephen was on time for our departure, which, if I'm honest, isn't always the case. We'd researched the night before how we were going to get to the marina and had decided that an Uber was going to be the best way. When we looked at the app, it was telling us it would take around 15 minutes, and generally speaking, the wait time would be around 5 minutes. So we need to be at the rendezvous point at 8:45 a.m. With all that considered, we decided that we were going to be in the reception area no later than 8:15, just to give us some breathing space in case of any delays booking the Uber. So around 8:15 we were there, and we did exactly that. We booked our Uber and it was still saying around a 5-minute wait once we confirmed our ride. However, it then repeatedly failed to find a driver for us, and 15 minutes later we were getting to that point of no return where if we didn't set off walking there and then, we wouldn't make it on time unless an Uber accepted our ride request. So we decided to hedge our bets and walk in the end, although there was one moment where I was starting to get really nervous. We were still around 11 minutes away according to Apple Maps, and that was at 8:37 in the morning, so we're getting really close to that 8:45 rendezvous point. Long story short, we did make it with time to spare, as they quote the rendezvous time 15 minutes before the actual departure to ensure there is an on-time getaway. So we are still on board the boat as expected. However, we didn't get long to record an intro before getting on, and we also ended up with an indoor seat rather than an outdoor one, as we were one of the later parties to arrive. Not really a huge problem though, and at least we've got a window seat so we can still capture some of those views. So right now we're making our way through the main port of Dubrovnik, and this is also where the cruise ships stop. As you can see, there is a fairly large one here today, although I think there are probably some larger ones in existence as well from our previous experience of a cruise with Royal Caribbean. But with that in mind, we are pleased that we did the Old Town yesterday. If we were there today, it could quite possibly be a lot busier with all of the different cruise passengers heading into town to take a look. Anyway, so far, this has very much reminded me of our trips over to Lopud from many, many years ago. This was where the home stretch on our trip from London to the island usually started, and where we were getting the feeling of excitement the most, I suppose. And with that in mind, we're about to leave the port area and head across the sea to the islands, so it's probably about time to relive some of those memories once again. So this is it. We are arriving at Lopud, and to say this is bringing back so many memories is a huge understatement. That was the beach that we played on as kids, and that terrace to the right was where we used to drink iced coffee, and I'm pretty sure that those buildings all belong to the hotel that we stayed in. Pleasingly, despite the wars which killed off tourism for a while, they still look like they are trading in some sort of hospitality context. So we're definitely going to check them out and see if that is where we stayed, along with what, if anything, has changed. For now though, it's time to dock and jump off the boat.
Thank you.
There's my mum. It's been 40 years since we've been here. 39 years. So we are off the boat and getting our first glimpse of the island. And to say this moment is nostalgic is an understatement. Now, I'm not sure I can recall arriving on the island during the hours of daylight on my childhood trips. To me, it feels more familiar to have been arriving in dusk, if not actual darkness. But either way, it's bringing back so many memories. One thing I do remember though is how peaceful and serene the harbour area was. In fact, not much seems to have changed at all on that front. The buildings still look the same as they did when we last came, all constructed with light stone walls and terracotta roofs. And the island looks as chilled as it did in the 1980s, albeit that it might be a bit quiet at the moment as the summer season hasn't really got going here just yet. Either way, it's making me feel as if one day I could come back here for a longer stay during the main season. Maybe not in the immediate future, but certainly at some point. In the meantime though, it's probably time for our initial thoughts. Hey, so we've arrived in Lopud for the first time in
39 years.
39 years. It looks almost exactly the same as I remember. I guess my mum's got a bit of a stronger memory than I do. But we were on the jetty where we used to get the boat to and from the airport from. And we're going to have a little wander around, see what we can see. We might even go and sit on the beach where we used to spend our days. It looks really quiet on that beach today. It doesn't look as busy as I remember when I was a child. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing a few things. Anything you want to see particularly?
I quite fancy a bit of snorkeling if the water's not too cold. I think it should be that if we can get an iced coffee or an ice cream, which we used to walk along and get every day, that would be really nice to do.
Yeah.
I am just happy to be here.
Yeah, we're both happy to be here. So we've got 3 hours here, that's plenty of time to explore. We'll show you a few things about what we see while we're around and about. Right, so we're heading on to land. Now that up there, I think, if I remember rightly from being a young primary school age child, is a monastery of some sort, or a nunnery, or something like that. I'll share the details at the bottom here somewhere. I'll tell you what it's called. But this is a beautiful day to come back to this island. So you excited, Stevie V? Not as excited as me.
Aren't I a vision?
So I remember getting off a little boat there, a little hydrofoil in fact, with suitcases and wheeling them all down here, actually carrying them because before the days you had wheeled suitcases, carrying them all down here and then round over there to where our hotel is. And actually we've been looking at the water, I don't know how else to come out on the video, but if you look in here, it is crystal clear. You can see the bottom there, there's a lot of little fishes, and that thing there that looks a bit like a bit of plastic floating just by that cable to the boat, it's probably too translucent to come through the video, but apparently that's a plantain. It's not a jellyfish, but it is some kind of life form. I can see it opening and closing its mouth there. I've never seen one of them before. Again, I don't know if you can see this because the sunlight's reflecting, but down there, there's a whole little family of fishes. Wow. And look, they're all having something to eat, look. So I have to say I'm loving this so far. It's beautiful, the scenery is amazing. Look how blue that sky is. Can't get much lighter than that at all. This is going to be a good day, I think. Right, so we think that this might have been our hotel and we're going to pop inside to see what we can find out. Meanwhile, Stephen is going to tell us a bit more about his first thoughts of the island.
Okay, as you can see, we are on the island of Lopud, and I have to admit it is quite picturesque and scenic here. It is gorgeous, and the one thing that I really like about this island is that all of the buildings and architecture look exactly like Old Town, so there is some like consistency to everything here. It's like the whole area has an identity and a good feel about it. As you can see behind me, our boat is just there. It is currently 10:37, so we've got just under 3 hours here, but at the moment Luke and his mum are in what I understand to be a hotel they stayed in last time they were here, which was about 40 years or so, give or take. And I have to admit, it's really, really cute because they've gone into this hotel space and now just speak to the staff, and the staff actually seem quite interested. Luke's mum's getting out all the photographs and she's showing him the photographs of the street outside and the hotel, and yeah, he actually generally seems like he actually cares, so much so that he's asked Luke's mum to connect to the Wi-Fi and actually send the photos over. God knows what for, maybe a then and a now situation, but you know, I think this is what Luke really wanted. He wanted to physically walk down memory lane with his mum and like have these lived experience reignited. And you know, I think it's really cool that they're able to do this and they're able to have these memories, because sometimes we don't all have the opportunity to do that with our parents for one reason or another. Anyway, I'm going to stay here in the sun catching some rays whilst I wait for them to finish doing whatever they're doing and come on out.
Okay. We've got a bit of a treat. So we found the hotel that we used to stay at, and he said if we go up to the top floor, which helps a bit more, we can go into room 12. It's not made up because they're not open at the moment, and have a look at what it looks like now. Wow. Let's have a look. Yeah, I remember the shutters. Wow. How's this feel to you, Mum?
It does bring back memories, yes.
Yeah?
Definitely. We had such a good holiday here.
Let me just get out of your way for a second so you take a photo. I'm not going to turn anything on because I don't want to disrespect them because they've let us come in, but yeah, this does feel very familiar. You're glad to be here?
That's amazing. I just can't believe that we can, 39 years later, we can see them. And people are very kind, aren't they?
Very kind, yeah. We won't stay too long because there's lots of other things to do.
Yes, I think we should.
Did it have aircon that then? Yeah. It's incredible to think that 39 years ago we stayed in a place like this. Wow. Anyway, lots more to see yet.
Right, we're here with your favourite mother and son duo. I had to think about that for a second. Mother and daughter, mother and son. And they have now finally come out from their
Reminiscing?
walk down memory lane.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's a good way of putting it. So we weren't expecting to bump into the owner of a hotel when we're here. We just kind of asked somebody, oh, how long's the hotel been here for? Has it been here since the 1980s? And she said, oh, let me go and ask the owner. And then fourth generation. Yeah, he came out and my mum showed him some of the photos from back when we were here, and he was like, yeah, that's definitely this hotel. And we were debating where the dining room was. Mum thought that this area here, which we're right next to, was where the dining room was, and I seem to remember it being upstairs. And he only came out and said, yeah, those photos are definitely from that room over there on the other side of the corridor. So that was that confirmed. But then really kindly, they're not open yet because it's not their season. But really kindly, he let us go and explore the room upstairs, one of the rooms that we might have stayed in. We don't know if it definitely was or not. So
how nice is that? Because again, they don't have to. There's no requirement to do that. It's just
And his mother was here, and she was very pleased to see the photos too. I asked her where the terrace was, where we used to sit in the evenings and drink Slivovich and play cards with the adults, obviously not the children. And she told me how I could get there if I wanted to, but she did say that it's a bit ruined now. So, but they were very, very kind, weren't they?
Yeah, very kind
Very
indeed.
helpful.
I think generally intrigued. Someone who was here so long ago has come back to
Yes.
have another look. And then
So he said it was what, 1939.
1929, I think, is when the hotel was first opened. And then during communism, it was commandeered by the government and became a state-owned hotel.
They had to buy it back.
And he had to buy it back at the end of communism off of the government. So it's called Hotel Dubrava, we've discovered. And then as soon as he said that, we remember that's what it used to be called. It's now called Hotel Glavic. If you ever want to come to Lopud, it's a 3-star hotel. So I wouldn't say it's a luxury hotel, but it's definitely comfortable, and it seems that the staff are very helpful. And we're now sitting in the hotel cafe, which is outside this beautiful terrace.
Gorgeous sun.
Absolutely gorgeous sun. And this is exactly where we used to sit lunchtime, maybe, when we came here in the 1980s to have an iced coffee. So for old time's sake, that's exactly what we're going to do now.
And Luke's mum has got some interesting photos as Luke as a child. So we will insert a couple of those now for your enjoyment.
We may or may not. We will see. But also equally, my mum took a photo exactly from this spot facing behind us. And she's just taken another photo of exactly this spot facing behind us 39 years later. So you can see how it's changed since then. We might even insert that somewhere around here as well, potentially. I don't know, but how has this been for you?
It's been absolutely fabulous. So far, the highlight of the holiday, because we had such happy memories of our holidays here. Even though occasionally things didn't always go smoothly. But it was just lovely to be back in the same place and remember how it was when the children were small and the good times that we had. It's just lovely.
Because I remember you saying that the only reason we kind of came here as opposed to Spain or Greece was that at the time, this is Yugoslavia, before they all broke up into their own countries. And at the time, it had only just opened up for tourism. And that meant that it was affordable.
Yes.
And these days, it's probably not quite as cheap as it used to be. And also, like you recently saying to me that, when we were growing up, things were, times were hard. We couldn't always even afford to eat lunch on holidays. We had to kind of cheekily retain a few rolls from breakfast and hide them in bags and stuff to get them to the, our coffees are just arriving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll just swap these two around because I don't want Stephen to get ill. So yeah, we were saying that we couldn't always afford to buy lunches and that kind of thing, and it gets me thinking a bit. We didn't have the best of childhoods in terms of money wise.
We had good times.
We had good times. We made of it what we could, but I've had a good role model here in terms of we could have just kind of said, oh, this is our life, this is our class, this is where we are. But for someone to raise a family and go out and get a degree and a postgraduate degree in education and then a qualification in head teachership and then run her own school successfully against some very difficult circumstances, personal life-wise, which I won't go into. But for you to do that, it really set the example, I think. And we are quite fortunate, me and Steve, these days, to be comfortable financially, but that's because you inspired us to do that, or it's inspired me to do that. So I'm kind of glad we got you here today, and I hope it just pays you back a little bit for some of the stuff you did for us. So I'm going to stop now.
You've made me embarrassed.
I didn't mean to.
No,
So we can stop now.
Right, on that note, we're going to stop and have our coffees.
I'll leave my sunglasses on for a bit. Anyway, enough emotional stuff for now, although I make no apologies for acknowledging that my mum had more of an impact on my life than she might think that she had. For now though, it's time to take a roam around the island, and as a child, this was a fairly common walk for us, usually when we got bored of the beach and wanted something else to do. So I'm curious to see how the seafront in Lopud is now compared to what I remember all those years ago. So we're just walking down the kind of seashore, I don't know what you call it. It's a footpath right next to the sea, basically. I don't know if you can see that. Some beautiful views there. I used to walk up and down this path quite a lot. When I was a child, there's lots of little restaurants off here to the left. I don't know if you can see that one. And little shops as well. I think I remember this supermarket actually. Buying like drinks and stuff in there. I don't know if you can see that, that's just there. But we're going to try and find a way to get other side of the island because there's a really beautiful sandy beach over there, and we're hoping we might be able to do some snorkeling. But I can't remember what the way is, and Stephen's gone ahead to try and find out how to get there. So this used to be one of the kind of posh hotels, I think, in the 1980s, but it doesn't look particularly posh now. There's all this stuff junked. I don't know if that's from there or from somewhere else, but either way, like if you look at this, it was called the Grand Hotel then. Doesn't look very grand now. So Stephen was saying earlier that we're not going to do a lot of walking today, and we've seen some previous videos where we can get or hire like a buggy type thing from one side of the island to the quieter beach from the other side. Can't see any buggies for hire around here anyway, so we're walking. It's going to take about 20 minutes. So I don't think we're going to have a huge amount of time there when we get there, because we still want to do a couple more things this side of the island when we get back. But hopefully it'll be a nice little walk over the hill, and the reward will be worth it. Although I'm looking ahead of me, that hill looks really steep, so I don't really know. We'll see how it goes out. Right, so it looks at the moment like we might need to walk over to the other side of the island, which might hamper our time there just a little bit. If we do though, as you can see, it's probably a really pleasant walk. That said, we've just spotted a little collection of vehicles just around the corner from us. Good news. We've got what I thought was about a quarter of the way there, and we found a whole row of golf caddies. So it is only a 20-minute walk if you've got time. Definitely do that, but we might cheat and get the golf caddy because
we're definitely going to cheat because it's an experience, and we're going to relive our Hawaiian experience.
Nightmare for me anyway. So we're going to get a caddy, I think, just to save a bit of time, and hopefully that way we get a bit of decent time on the beach before having to rush back the other way. Bumpy, but it's fun.
And you can see all the people that have driven past on the way here as well.
We'll get there first. To say, I only come over here once, I think, when I was a kid, but it's actually quite spectacular. It's like a little beach shack. Say hi, Mum.
Hi.
There's a little beach shack thing. Let me go around this way actually, that might be a bit easier. Just behind us, where I think you can buy drinks and things, and the beach is beautiful. So yeah, we're going to go for a little dip, I think, and see if we can do a bit of snorkeling.
Right, our scuba diver is ready and she is off. Bye bye.
Okay, so my mum is being brave and venturing into the water. For the time being, I'm being a little bit more hesitant though. I've dipped my toe in the water and it feels much colder than I remember from previous visits, which I guess could be down to the time of year. But there is another reason why I'm a bit nervous too, and judging by the fact that there are not many people in the water at the moment, I'm possibly not the only one.
Right, someone has decided that they don't want to go in the water, despite the fact that his mum is halfway out to sea now.
That's fine, but there's jellyfish, and I don't know enough about the types of jellyfish that I can see to know whether they might sting or not. And
that's okay, I'll pee on you if they do.
And someone else has just done some research where it says that there are no lethal forms of jellyfish known on the islands. However,
so why don't you go in?
Are poisonous and can cause a painful sting. So that's not something I really want to experience when we're only here for a few days. So I don't want to risk it at the moment because I don't want to get stung, basically.
But it is gorgeous though.
Beautiful, it really is. And Mum looks like she's having fun.
Your mum definitely looks like she's having fun. I'm not sure if you can see this, but these are the jellyfish that are washing up on to the beach. And if I show you over here, these are all the dried up jellyfish as well. Just loads and loads of them. Don't know if it's like a mass suicide pact, but as you can see, Luke's mum is all the way out there. Right, Luke has made it into the water just a little bit. To quote our friend Amy, balls and nips. Balls and nips. If you know, you know. But this part of the beach, there's not hardly any of the jellyfish. There's a couple of them floating around, but not as much. And here comes Mummy Travelholic. Got to say, I'm pretty impressed with how far you went down.
Anyway, I wish the water was a bit warmer and that there were no jellyfish so that we could have enjoyed this beach a little bit more. It really is beautiful here and we were really wanting to do some snorkeling. But time is a bit short this afternoon and it's now time to head back to the other side of the island. So we're just walking back to the boat. That's a nice little trip to the beach, but I've just walked past this terrace here and behind me, I'm just going to go this way a little bit without trying to warn my mum. Over there is a restaurant called La Villa or something like that, and I'm pretty sure here was like a terrace of some sort where we had food a few times, and I think that's the first time I ever tried calamari. I actually remember liking the calamari and I hate it now, can't stand it, but it was really kind of nice and fresh and garlicky, so maybe that's why I prefer that rather than the frozen stuff that you probably get in restaurants back home. But anyway, another little memory to remember. So time is definitely ticking away and it's not long until we need to be on the boat to head off to our next stop. And it's time to take one final walk along the seafront before we say goodbye to Lopud. And one of the memories that I have walking down this path was having an ice cream in my hand. As my mum mentioned on a previous vlog, ice cream flavours in the UK during the 1980s were, if you pardon the pun, rather vanilla. But the ice cream on Lopud was far more exotic in terms of flavours. Sadly, it's still not quite the start of the season here, so we've not been able to find any today. But what we have been able to do though is remind ourselves of the amazing views that you see from this island. Okay, so we are pretty much all done now. We are heading back to the boat, which is just over there. Oh, talking of boats though, look at this. That's some kind of sculpture, that's kind of cool. Anyway, heading back to the boat. Stephen was here, he no longer is. I assume he's gone on for head, so we'll just go to the boat. We just got back to the boat and they've turned all the little tables into like a little restaurant thing. There's a bucket of, I think, wine maybe? Stephen will show us. It's definitely a bottle of water. And a litre of wine, it's a large bottle. Nice. food has arrived. What have you got, Stephen? Fish, by the look at it.
Yum, yum, yum.
My mum's gone for like a vegetarian one. It's quite nice. And I've gone for some chicken, which also looks quite nice. I mean, as I said, we've got some bread and also some wine and some water and salt, vinegar and condiments and stuff. But all looks very nice. But the food is actually really nice. It may not have looked like a Michelin star level meal, but in all honesty, we prefer real, authentic local food over some of the posh stuff. And I have to say, I have no idea what was in that potato salad, but it was to die for. If anyone has any clues as to what goes into it, please feel free to leave a comment. For now though, this is one of the sadder views that I remember from being a child. Waving goodbye to Lopud, usually at the end of our holiday, meant it was time to head back to real life. This time, we're not heading back to the UK today and still have a few more things to look forward to, but for now, it's time to head towards our next stop, which is the island of Šipan. Just got off the boat and there is a ton of fish right there. I think eating the leftover food that they've just thrown over. Wow. Loads down there.
Right, time check is 1:54 p.m. in the afternoon.
It is, yeah. We have just made it to the island of Sipan, which is new territory for us. We've never been here before, but it's another one of the Elaphiti Islands, the biggest one apparently, and it's different to Lopud and Koločep, which are the other two occupied ones, because this one has cars in certain places, and there are certainly one or two cars around where we are at the moment, and what looks like some kind of car ferry port to the left of us as well. But it's beautifully sunny here, nice and hot, and we have just seen a whole kind of
Menagerie,
I think it's the only word I could think of, and you thought of exactly the same ones, so that must be the right one, of fish swimming around in a little harbour area. And I've got a funny feeling that the chef on the boat may have thrown over a few scraps because suddenly they were all...
Just the chef?
Maybe you as well, just to join into the party. Just because suddenly they were all bobbling around the surface. And these are quite big fish, they're bigger than the ones that we saw in Lopud. So yeah, I don't think it's... I'm just having a quick look around. I don't think it's kind of like a snorkeling kind of place because there's nowhere really to get into the water. Otherwise, I'd be quite happy to jump on the
There's a guy literally right. He's gone down the stairs just there by that boat. So
maybe
there's your opportunity.
Maybe we'll have a look.
Speaking of snorkeling,
Well, I did manage some snorkeling. I actually didn't see many fish, but the fact is, I snorkeled. That's what I wanted to do.
you did it.
Yes,
And what do you think of it here?
it was great. The water is so beautifully clear, you would not believe it. It's crystal clear. So you can see right to the bottom even when the water's quite deep.
And actually, when you look at it, it's a bit of a kind of, it has like a turquoisey reflector. It looks, as you say, really crystal clear.
Yeah.
Quite beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very,
absolutely.
very beautiful.
But we should probably have a little wander around and see what there is to see here, since we've not been here before.
And they only give us an hour.
Well, we've got just over an hour. We've got back here at 3, haven't we? So we've got just over an hour to have a look around. I don't think there's much to do here as on Lopud, but we'll have to have a look in a bit. Okay, so it's probably about time for our first impressions of Šipan. It doesn't feel as built up as Lopud, even though geographically it's probably about 4 times the size. To me, this reminds me a bit of a West Country fishing village, albeit very clearly with a Southern European feel to it. The views are definitely something to behold. The hills sticking up above the sea on the mainland look pretty amazing as they contrast against the blue of the sea and the blue of the sky. But views alone don't necessarily make a location. and we're here to explore what there is to do on this island. So for now, given that we only have about an hour or so here, it's likely time to check that out. So this beach is not sandy like at Lopud. It's kind of quite, I don't know, it's like pebbly, shingly, I don't know. But Stephen's going to decide to go for a little walk. Is that washing the sand off your shoes from earlier?
Oh my God, it's cold.
Is it?
I have no idea how that guy just
Jumped in.
into it earlier. He's definitely got a big pair of balls, that's for sure. But that feels so much better.
Interestingly, there's like no waves here at all, right?
No, it's very calm.
It's like a mill pond.
Very serene.
Yes.
Very peaceful. Very elegant.
But where's the demure going to come from in that then, I
I
wonder?
couldn't find a place to drop it in.
So, I think like first impressions, right, is there a huge amount to do here?
No.
No. I think you can maybe walk around a little bit. There's like a little cafe thing just behind us. And a place where you can buy wine and olive oil. That's all we've seen so far.
Obviously, if you want to go swimming like this dude here, you can do.
Yeah.
He's not the dude I was referring to earlier though.
No.
That's another dude.
Yeah, but it's definitely, the water's definitely a bit cold today, isn't it?
It is very cold.
Who is this?
I have no idea, but I've made a friend.
Is this baby girl?
That is a girl.
Hello. Hey. Oh,
They're very friendly though.
kitty cat, aren't you? It's a girl.
Okay, so we've been here about half an hour, and it's really pretty, it's really beautiful, but there really isn't very much to do here at all. Apparently it's famed for red wine and olive oil, and I think that's probably all it is famed for. There's a little olive oil shop which we might pop our heads into in a minute, but I don't think we're going to buy anything from there, so I'm not really sure. Other than that, really, a tiny little tourist shop and a restaurant.
And a very friendly cat.
And a very friendly cat, and that is pretty much everything there is to do here. So Mama Holic has just gone off to take some pictures, I think, and I think we might just round her up in a minute and say we're going to head back to the boat. We don't want to be the last people on there, then yeah, I guess we're on our way to Koločep after that. But
That's probably why they only give you
an hour
on this island, because there pretty isn't much to do.
Yeah.
With the exception of a couple of Americans jumping in the water, that's really been as much entertainment as there is.
Yeah. So
But I suppose, you know, if you wanted to retire somewhere, this probably might be nice.
Yeah.
Because it's quiet, you know, there's not too much going on.
yeah,
It's quite, I would say serene is the word.
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
But the water's beautiful.
Yeah, I'll give them that. The water's beautiful, but there isn't a huge amount to do here. So anyway, yeah, we'll head back to the boat very shortly, and we'll see if there's a bit more to do on Koločep.
Star of the show. What are we going to name this one?
Tabitha.
No, that's the name of the thing from the ring.
She is a tabby cat.
She's a tabby cat, yeah. Very friendly.
Very friendly.
Oh look, you can rest now. Oh. You're so cute. You want to take you home with me? Okay, so we have found one shop that's pricked our interest a little bit, and I do love a good olive oil. So let's take a look inside and see what they have to offer.
Good?
Is it?
I'm asking a question.
What's my mum? Is it good?
I'm not sure. Tasted it will look quite like
Ooh. It's very, very fruity. Are you ready?
It just tastes as olive oil to me.
It's always like. So folks, that really is kind of about it. Šipan seemed quite pretty, but there really wasn't much to do here at all. We've enjoyed chilling in the sunshine for a bit, and there was a sort of small cafe or bar where you could have a drink if you wanted to pass some time. But I definitely say 100% that this is not a resort island or somewhere to head for a holiday. Either way, we are now on the way to our final stop for this tour. And I guess that this view is just as picturesque as the one leaving Lopud. It just perhaps doesn't feel so poignant, given that this place doesn't have as many memories for us as Lopud does. It hasn't taken long before we are heading over the open water to our final stop for this trip, and that is the island of Koločep. Stephen is clearly feeling the effects of the early morning start, and to be honest, I don't blame him for that. We were up at like 6 a.m. this morning, but it is a bit of a shame really, as he's just ended up missing out on a little treat that the crew had brought around for everyone. Okay, this is probably more Italian than Croatian, but who doesn't like a cheeky grappa, right? And before long at all, we have arrived at Koločep. Now, this approach seems very much like the approach that we make on a boat to Lopud to me. Again, the blue sky and the blue sea are divided by rolling hills with buildings all along the lower shoreline, and that is very familiar. Now, like Šipan, this is new territory for us, so we're really not sure what to expect. But first impressions are that this feels very much on par with Lopud. In other words, it looks like there is more to do here than there was in Šipan, although it does still feel like Lopud might be the most developed of the islands so far. Right, we have just arrived on Koločep. It feels a little bit more commercialised than the other two islands so far, but not as much to do here as there was in Lopud, but we're going to have a look around. See what we can see. There is a little sandy beach just over there, so I might go, if there's no jellyfish, I might go for a little swim, but we'll see when we get there. Anyway, enough talking for now. We've again only got about an hour on this island, so it's probably about time that we started exploring what there is to see here. As the first impressions are, it's a bit more well kept than the last island we were on. There is one hotel here, a Tui Blue hotel apparently, which means it's probably quite kind of package holiday-esque here. There are a few little restaurants, a few little bars. A lot of the shops are shut, I guess because it's off season, but we're heading to the beach and hopefully find a little spot for a while and have a quick splish splash in the sea.
So Luke's made it into the water, and I have to admit I put my toes in and it is bloody cold. I did actually say to him that if he goes in I will probably follow, but no, not doing that, decided. The actual sand is nice and warm on my little toesy toes. As you can see, he is bobbing around behind me. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stay here where it's nice and warm. Just appreciate him living his best Baywatch fantasy, and yeah, catch some rays. You enjoy that?
It was cold. I got used to it. It's cold. The weird thing was though, I barely had to do any kind of manoeuvring whatsoever to stay afloat. So I could just bob there, and actually just hearing the waves lapping against the shore as you're bobbing around in the water, and a few birdies in the sky, and a few people laughing like that in the distance, was actually kind of therapeutic. I enjoyed it.
It's a shame it's so cold. Do you know what it reminded me of, the temperature of the water? Those plunge tanks that you go to at the spas, where you go from cold to hot.
I don't know if it was as bad as that, but it did remind me of the first time I went to, the only time I went to Corfu, and that swimming pool there where you had to really force yourself to get into it. But yeah, it's all right, I'm glad I did it. I've cooled down quite a lot actually. I just now need to dry off so I can put my shirt back on before we get on the boat.
You could walk around shirtless for most of the day if you want to.
Fine, to be honest, I'm fine. Not quite got a beach body yet. working on that. Okay folks, so that really is about it. Again, maybe because it's not quite on season yet, there really isn't a huge amount to do on Koločep, but it was nice to finally have a bit of a swim, even if it was really cold. As you can see though, we are now back on the boat and heading to Dubrovnik. It's been a great day, but it is now slowly coming to an end. We were off the boat. As you can hear, there's some rowdy people still left on board, but I think we're getting off in a minute. They've been drinking quite a lot on the cruise, we haven't, so they're a bit ahead of us. But what does everyone think of the trip today?
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Very, very nice to visit Lopud again and see all the old haunts and things. The crew were great. We had more than our fair share of wrap-up. The lunch was lovely. Yeah, very, very nice. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, Stevie, what do you think is the best bit?
The cats.
All the different cats, yeah.
We did see a lot of cats.
We did. I think
Cats and the weather.
Cats. Oh, the weather's been great, hasn't it? Yeah. I think what we were saying was that if we did this again, it'd be nice if they did like a little bit more time on Lopud, because there was so much more to do there. We felt a bit rushed, and a bit less time on Sipan and Koločep, because they just felt a little bit like there was less to do there, and we were kind of like just wandering around thinking, okay, what do we do with our time here? Very pretty as it was, wasn't much to keep us entertained, but I think it's been a good cruise, and I think you've enjoyed making some reminiscing moments. Yeah, okay, definitely recommend this though if you guys are down this way. It's a good use of 8 hours, but we're going to try and find a taxi back to the hotel now. Okay, so back at the hotel, as you can see, and yeah, it's been a bit of drama this afternoon. We ordered an Uber back from the boat tour back to the hotel. All seemed to be going similarly well, and then the first driver cancelled, and then the second one cancelled, and the third one cancelled, and then a fourth one turned up and was saying that he was having a problem connecting to the journey, but he was going to take us there anyway. Meanwhile, Stephen's been charged for the journey. And then when we get to the hotel, he's like, well, you need to pay me cash because Uber isn't paying me, it's not connecting the journey properly. And after a bit of debate, where we tried to explain to him that we've already paid, and Stephen showed the bank statement, he was like, yeah, but you need to tell Uber that they've got your money because they're not sending it to me. So anyway, we paid him €5 cash, which isn't a huge amount in the grand scheme of things, but then myself and my mum just popped down to the shop to grab a couple of supplies. And while we were out, Stephen got another phone call from another Uber driver asking where he was because he was waiting for him at the pickup point, to which Stephen then says, well, we've already paid, and we're actually back at the hotel. And since then, it seems that driver's now downrated him, so and we've still been charged by Uber as well, twice now for 2 separate journeys, so we're not quite sure what's going on. Stephen's back in the hotel trying to sort it out, and it's kind of put a damper on the evening, so I don't know whether we might do anything else tonight. We had quite a bit to eat earlier, so we probably won't have anything else to eat now. May pop down to the bar for another nightcap, but we've shown you that before, so I think for today, it has been fun going back to Lopud with my mum and making some memories. But we're going to end the vlog there. And then tomorrow's Easter Sunday, where apparently lots of things are shut in Dubrovnik. So we're going to wake up and kind of see what's available to do. Might go up the cable car to the top of the mountain and see where there's some views up there. That should be open tomorrow. But for tonight, I think that's going to be it. Hope you've enjoyed our little trip to the Elaphiti Islands even. Don't forget, if you like what you see, to like, subscribe, comment, turn on the notifications so that you know we put out more content, because we'd love you to see a bit more of our travel adventures, and hopefully you'll tune in for the next vlog. But that's it for tonight, everyone. Take care, whatever you're doing, and we hope to see you again very soon. Right, hey everyone.
God, look at that.
I did try and tell you you had the sunglasses, love.
All I wanna